Having a dialed-in space to create content can make a massive difference in productivity. Today, I'll be sharing my YouTube studio setup to hopefully give you some inspiration and practical tips that you can apply to your space. This video is sponsored by vidIQ. We'll kick off the tour with one of my favorite pieces of equipment, this all-in-one studio stand, which is actually what I use for my talking headshots. It allows me to mount my camera, audio, lighting, my phone for notes. It's all weighed down by sandbags and is on wheels so you can roll it around. And the really cool thing is that you can also use it for top-down shots, which makes it a very functional piece of equipment. So moving right along, over here we have the desk setup, and this is such a major part of the studio setup and the way it functions. Let's go ahead and start by breaking it down with the actual desk itself, which is a desktop from IKEA, which we've custom stained, and it's placed on a pair of mechanical sit-stand legs, and it has wheels, which allows us to roll it all around the studio, which is really helpful for when I live stream. A unique feature of the desk is this custom built riser that my wife made. It is really cool because it allows for some great storage organization, a way to mount some lights to it and other accessories to the desk, and it still looks really cool. Then underneath the riser, I actually have these little storage containers which have different tools that are really handy. For example, these remotes. These are for controlling different lights throughout the office. I even have one for the main key light we're using right now, so I can change the color temperature, change the color itself, which is really fun. And so having these remotes in a nice, organized space is really helpful. Then I've got some audio stuff next to there. At the center of the desk, powering everything, is the Mac Studio. This has been a long time coming and a big step up for me in terms of computers. Connected to the Mac Studio is the Studio Display. I decided to go with the VESA mount option so that I could put it onto a swivel arm and be able to move the monitor around, which is really how I help accomplish my live stream setup. I've also got this smaller monitor, which is USB-C powered, and it works really well with my workflow. I'm able to have notes up while I'm editing, browse through music, and it is especially helpful when I am live streaming. On one side of the smaller monitor, we've got the Elgato Stream Deck, which of course I use for streaming, but I also use while I'm editing and just using my computer in general. On the other side, I've got the Wave XLR, and this is a really awesome audio interface. It allows me to connect my mic and do a lot of post-processing, but not when it's when I'm live. I'm rocking the Apple Touch ID keyboard and the Magic Mouse, and I really love how long the battery life is on them and all of the touch gestures. We've worked really hard on the desk to hide a lot of the cables, which are actually running through a cable raceway underneath the desk. It keeps everything super organized. It's one of my favorite features of the desk because it just is super useful and one of the best organizational tools that I've been able to find. And in this corner, we've got a fan. The studio is underground and it doesn't get a lot of circulation, so the fan really helps with that. And that's it. That's really all it does.
There's nothing more to say on that.
All right, moving right along. And over here, we've got the gear wall, which is where I keep my lenses. And I've got a lot of lenses here. This is definitely overkill for YouTube, but prior to this, I was shooting a lot of weddings and doing freelance work. And so these helped me accomplish that well. As you guys can see, a lot of these lenses are pretty used. So I definitely don't baby the gear. Michaela's grandpa actually used to work at Kodak, and he gifted me a lot of these old Kodak cameras. And spliced in here, I have a few other things like this little Instax Mini, as well as a fun little toy camera, which shout out to the real ones if you guys have seen this video, one of my favorites. I'll link it in the description below. And now we're moving on to my favorite wall in the studio. I've always wanted to have a custom LED sign, and last year Sketch and Etch actually hooked us up with this one. It's able to represent the motto of the channel. It's a good reminder. I get to feature it in all the videos. It's a nice background element, and it's just cool. Another reason this wall is one of my favorites is because of the backdrop. I can easily roll this down and completely change the entire look of the wall. I use this all the time, including right now. vidIQ is a tool designed to boost your views. It helps you position your videos to get discovered. I don't know a ton about SEO or the algorithm, and thankfully with this tool, I don't have to. I can simply focus on creating, and vidIQ does the rest. It gives me a checklist, tags, best time to post, strong keywords, and even video ideas. It takes all this information and delivers it in a way that I can easily understand and quickly apply to my videos. I end up spending less time in YouTube Studio and more time in my studio, getting to do what I love, which is making content for you guys. So if you want to check it out, you can use the link down in the description below. And make sure to use code CREATIVE at checkout. And for the final wall here inside of the studio, we have this pegboard. And pegboards are super functional for storage, as well as having an aesthetic background if it's going to be in your footage. That's why I really like them. You can organize them and optimize them for your workflow, and also make them look really good if you're going to have it in the shot itself. And one of the most game-changing features has been this tripod cart, which my wife custom built. It's super cool. Everything's always at arm's reach. I've got tripods, light stands, tube lights. It really optimizes my workflow. And above me, I've got my hat collection. Anytime I go somewhere new that kind of leaves a mark on me, I like to pick up a hat with the name of that location, just to kind of help remember that place and those experiences. Just outside the office, we have the workbench, which features the charging station. One day I was hanging out at church with one of my friends, Zach, who's an electric guitar player, and he had this pedal board on the ground with a bunch of these cool little guitar pedals. I started to think about it and I was like, wait, my camera battery chargers are like the same size and shape as these guitar pedals. I wonder if I could put my camera chargers on a pedal board. And so I tried it and I did. Now I've got this really cool handheld portable charging station, which typically I just leave here, but if I'm ever on the go or need to bring all of my charging equipment with me, I can easily pack it up and bring it. Just below that, we have all of these boxes for housing different accessories, and below that, there's a file cabinet, which is actually where we have all of the content we've ever shot on hard drives. And above the workbench, we actually have these dry erase boards, which I've been using to really help stay organized with all of the different videos and projects we have going on. I've actually been using the system I made up called Pebettos, which I'll explain real quick. It stands for planning, A-roll, B-roll, editing, thumbnail, optimization, and short form repurposing. So if you're looking for a good way to kind of help stay organized with different projects, this system's been working really well for me. And on this side, we have this cool little locker system, which I actually found at a thrift store for about $25. Really stoked about that, but I'm essentially turning each of these little compartments into storage systems for, different light modifiers and studio lights. Fun fact, 2 of these lockers are actually, locked, and we don't have the key. So we have no idea what's in them, if anything's in them. So that's kind of a fun surprise. Maybe we'll find out one day. And this room is Michaela's office. She's got her desk set up, and we've got some shelves with nicely organized drawers that are labeled so we can easily find what we're looking for. And over here in these built-in shelves, we have a lot of props that we've used across our content, which is really funny to come in here because some of the stuff is super random, like, the secret sauce, Batman, a tech deck. There's all these random items, but it's fun to keep all that stuff in case we need it for future content or want to reference it. When it comes to cameras and lenses, I'm fully using Sony. I really love their system. It's super sharp. The autofocus is really accurate. There's a great low light and a lot of great lens options, which makes them a really good option for 4K content creation. And let's not forget about audio, because audio is half of video. There's a lot of different ways that I'll record audio for different purposes. For talking headshots like this, I typically use the H6 recorder. This is sort of like the Swiss Army knife of audio devices. It has a built-in shotgun mic. You can also use 1/4" or XLR devices. You can use it as an audio interface or record directly onto an SD card. When it comes to microphones, I love the Shure MB7. I have 2 of them. I'll use them for podcasts and for live streams. For lav mics, like what I was wearing during the studio walkthrough, I use the Tascam DR10L. This is not wireless, but it is a standalone pack that records to its own micro SD card. For on-the-go vlogging, I love the Rode Video Micro because it's super small and compact. And when it comes to audio for my phone, I picked up this really nice shotgun mic as well as a wireless lav. Now, I make a lot of content about lighting, and because of that, a lot of different lighting companies will send me gear to test out and review and give feedback on. And so I do actually own a lot of lights, but the ones that I've really been enjoying using in the studio recently are the Godox lights. For my main key light in the studio, I've been using the Godox SZ150R. It is a very powerful and versatile light. It's super bright, has a lot of great effects and colors, and really helps me accomplish a lot of cool looking shots faster. To accompany this light, I use the Godox tube lights. I absolutely love tube lights. They're super useful. I have some in the background right now, and I use them all the time for product shots and live streams and B-roll and just to add a splash of color. They're really, really useful, and because they're all the same brand, I can actually control them on one remote. Aside from the Godox lights, when it comes to my everyday workflow, I also use my sign a lot and the Mount Dog light that's on my desk. And when it comes to editing, I use Final Cut Pro. It is my absolute favorite video editing system. I've been using it for years. It's just a great tool. It's super powerful. It works really, really well with my Mac Studio and Studio Display. So overall, I'm super happy with that program, and it allows me to accomplish a lot. Speaking of the Mac Studio, if you want an in-depth look at how I transform my desk setup into a 4K live streaming content machine, continue on to this video here. I put links to all of this gear mentioned in the description below. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, stay creative. Peace!